Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This is GGF, bringing you episode 12 of Let's Play Starfield. The amazing Starfield. Last episode, we checked out New Atlantis, and we're pretty much set to go ahead and continue that. We're going to talk to fellow guild members of Constellation and see what they have to say, and then we will go from there. Maybe checking out the rest of, or some of, New Atlantis. The city is huge, it looks like. The pain tolerance skill decreases physical damage taken. Good to know. So let's just see how this goes. Alright, we are in the workshop. We've got benzene, 2 antimicrobial flowers, 2 aluminum. Can grab that. Pharmaceutical lab, I don't think there's anything we can really make. See, I don't know how to get stuff like metabolic agent. I don't know how to recycle our items yet. Like our mundane items. I don't know if that's entirely a thing. I assume it is, but just not 100% sure. So let's get out of here. This was our room? No. This was an owned room, but I want to check some of these data pads we've been finding. And then we have Sir Livingstone's second journal. I heard tell from some of the old-timers that although Earth suffered its sad fate, that her faithful companion Luna fared much better. Apparently you can still find the remnants of one of the old Apollo missions, something of a secret rite of passage for chairs of Constellation if Banks was to be believed. During one of those rare interludes of calm while doing other research on Earth, I figured I could spare the time. I was, as they say, in the neighborhood. It took some serious scanning and a couple false leads, but I found it. To walk in the same place as those earliest of interstellar explorers. Unbelievable what they achieved with such primitive technology. I found the whole experience moving, inspiring. I will advise my successor to do the same. We'll make a proper tradition of it yet. This is an excerpt from Sir Malcolm Livingstone's second journal. Visit the Apollo landmark on Luna. Another activity to do. Awesome. Awesome. Storage room. Constellation. I don't just want to be grabbing stuff, even though I could. Cosmetic supply box. Once I figure out how to recycle items, then it's going to be great to find all this different stuff. Personal digiframe. Drink pack white wine. Plus 10% persuasion chance for 3 minutes. Yoink. We'll grab that though. Toy spaceship. Instant oatmeal, oat clusters. We'll leave this stuff where it be. Starlocked board game, deck of cards. This is obviously someone's room. Oh, we've got a lot to explore here, so let's see, let's come back. Wow, this way. The bathroom. Just leaving all the doors open. Sebastian Banks' speech. The following is an excerpt of Constellation founder Sebastian Banks' stirring 2276 speech to United Colonies leadership about the importance of continued space exploration. That is why, my esteemed peers, I beseech you, do not forego the dreams of humanity only to plunge civilization into an endless nightmare. The settled system stands once more on the brink of war, and for what? A dispute over space? The cosmos is infinite, and yet, like our earthbound ancestors, we have become selfishly obsessed over what we consider ours. At our core, are we a race of conquerors, of warriors? No, my friends, if nothing else, humans are explorers. So let us continue exploring. Now is the time to venture beyond the imagined borders of the settled systems and fulfill the dreams of humanity. For if we continue down this path, funding only war and not exploration, I fear there will be no one left to remember why we fought in the first place. Oh, that's really cool. Look at that artwork and stuff. I like that aesthetic. Then we have Report on Constellation. The following is an excerpt from a 2283 SSNN news report about Constellation's near collapse, the Settled System News Network. And although Constellation's relevance has been a subject of much debate amongst the New Atlantis intelligentsia, the disappearance of founder Sebastian Banks was a blow most felt the organization couldn't survive. In fact, Constellation's disbanding seemed imminent until member Chloe Bao changed her vote in the 11th hour, thus ensuring the group's continued operation, at least for the time being, as well as her unexpected appointment to the position of chair. Could be some funny business there. Oh, a cred stick, but I feel... Wow, lots of cred sticks. This is somebody's room, so I don't really want to be stealing their cred sticks. Spyglass case, sundial. Wow. Cool artwork. Aja Mamasa's diary. Wow, wooden face sculpture. A carved ball. Seems like just yesterday I was pulled into this exciting new organization, Constellation. We would push the boundaries of human knowledge and experience by exploring farther into space than anyone had before. For all, into the Starfield. God, I was so young. We all were, but I was the youngest of us all. Now here we are on the brink of disaster. The colony war may be over, but the settled system seems to be just waiting for the next one. Exploration is now at best quaint and at worst irrelevant. Fortunately, and it was no small feat, I've managed to put together a list of potential new members. They are Irvin Madani, young biologist and physician from the Freestar Collective; Barrett, promising young physicist from the UC, a colorful character to say the least; Alice Campbell, woman of action and pilot, claims to have flown every type of ship at least once; Russell Luther, astronomer and former Freestar Collective military, argumentative by effective; Vizola Chen, philosopher, historian, specializes in humanity's early days of space exploration; Jin Tao Min, dedicated to finding truth among the stars. Neon Hitman rumors are troubling. With any luck, this new blood will be just what Constellation needs to keep going. Maybe, hopefully. From the personal diary of Aja Mamasa, former Constellation chair. Huh. Soil box, fancy compass, report to Clark Lewis. I breached the hole at approximately 13:48 Seoul time. As expected, all internal systems were offline. Emergency power had ceased its function years earlier, so I was navigating the ship in 0G. Again, I expected that. Almost immediately I started seeing the bodies. They were everywhere. The crew, the settlers, all of them, drifting throughout the ship. What surprised me were the obvious variations in the causes of death. Those not in suits were frozen and fairly well preserved, and I imagine some of them actually asphyxiated. Others were emaciated, as if they had starved prior to death and freezing. Others had substantial wounding, gunshots, stab wounds. I even found an arm floating amongst the debris, but not the owner of said arm. It was when I got to the engine room that things finally started to make sense. Due to my approach, I hadn't noticed it from the outside, but half the compartment was actually gone, completely destroyed. The helium-3 tanks had ruptured. Somehow, sabotage? Faulty equipment? Wasn't clear. But the reactor was gone, blown into space. No helium-3 meant no jumping. No reactor meant no engines, no thrusters. That meant the Clark Lewis was dead in space, forever. A few personal logs I discovered only confirmed what I then assumed. Life on the Clark Lewis devolved over the course of the next few years. Some people were starved to death, some people starved to death. Others resorted to violence and even murder. There was even some compelling, though unsubstantiated, evidence indicating cannibalism. For the settled systems at large, the disappearance of the Clark Lewis is a topic of urban legend, like Bigfoot or the Roanoke colony. Part of the myth held that the ship had made it to some Eden-like planet where the settlers had established a kind of utopia. It's a hell of a thing knowing something an entire galaxy does not, holding on to a truth so terrible you're not even sure it should see the light of day. Chloe Bow's extensive 2282 report on the destruction of the Clark Lewis colony ship, which was reported lost in the year 2257, was the subject of much contention within Constellation. At a time when space exploration was already on the decline, Sebastian Banks feared that the horrifying story of the Clark Lewis and its crew would prevent people from venturing out into the dangerous unknowns of space.
I hope you're still going to join Constellation. No.
It's a dream.
Sextant. Okay, now where?
But I just remind myself that.
Down here, bathroom, tech room. Somebody's room. Other side of tech room. Cool spaceship. My room. No, this bed is owned, right? Notepads. Whoa, no! What? Oh my gosh, bro. I just threw a freaking grenade. Gosh, I have to be careful what I throw. David Copperfield. Chapter 1, I am born. Whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life or whether that station will be held by anybody else, these pages must show. To begin my life with the beginning of my life, I record that I was born, as I have been informed and believe, on a Friday at 12 o'clock at night. It was remarked that the clock began to strike and I began to cry simultaneously. First published as a serial from 1849 to 1850, Charles Dickens' David Copperfield tells the tale of a grown man looking back on his own life and all the events that shaped him. The Fruit Seller. In the year 2298, author Paul Lamont released the novel The Fruit Seller, forever cementing his role as the settled system's king of horror. Come down here, tasty thing, rasped the voice from the Fruit Seller. I won't hurt you. Oh no, I just want to snack on your soul. Carly heard the voice, in the cabin but also in her head. She reached over to slam the trapdoor shut, but something stopped her, some kind of internal force or urge. Yes, yes, she said, as if in a trance. My soul is delicious and will be yours. A Christmas Carol? Stave 1, Marley's ghost. Marley was dead to begin with, there is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Charles Dickens' 1843 novella, considered his most famous work, chronicles the redemption of the miserly Ebenezer Scrooge as he is visited by four ghosts who force him to analyze his life and the decisions he has made. Binoculars. Another weapon case. I mean, we could eventually open these. I don't want to be a complete hoarder and thief, necessarily. Is this my room? Yeah, this is my room. Tablet. Moby Dick, call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and nothing particular to interest me on shore, I thought I would sail about a little and see the watery part of the world. And so continues Melville's classic tale of revenge and obsession for a total of 341 pages. Beautiful chair and lamp. Cocktail tumbler. A Chandra Chardonnay. Or a Chandra Chardonnay. Storage. Okay. We weren't in here yet. A boardroom. Small crystal desk file. Wow. That room. Cool. Huh. Pretty cool. Oh, this is like the bar area. We were in here but didn't look all the way around. Fancy ice bucket. Scroll holder. Great Expectations. Chapter 1. My father's family name being Pirip and my Christian name Philip, my infant tongue could make of both names nothing longer or more explicit than Pip. So I called myself Pip and came to be called Pip. Charles Dickens' 13th novel is the coming-of-age tale of an orphan boy named Pip as he navigates the agendas of those around him, like the eccentric Miss Havisham. Nicholas Nickleby. Chapter 1 introduces all the rest. There once lived in a sequestered part of the county of Devonshire one Mr. Godfrey Nickleby, a worthy gentleman, who, taking into his head rather late in life that he must get married, and not being young enough or rich enough to aspire to the hand of a lady of fortune, had wedded an old flame out of mere attachment, who in her turn had taken him for the same reason. Thus two people who cannot afford to play cards for money sometimes sit down to a quiet game for love. Charles Dickens' third novel is the tale of a young man who struggles to support his family after his father inadvertently plunges them all into poverty, then dies. Couple Nicholas Nicklebys. Some nice darts. A cooking station. Story of the Heavens. Ever since Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon in 1969, humanity has been obsessed with the idea of permanently breaking free from the confines of Earth's gravity, not just visiting other planets but settling them, truly living among the stars. But in the mid-20th century, that dream proved short-lived. The Apollo 17 mission in 1972 was the last time humans set foot on the moon, and for several decades afterward, NASA's mission seems to focus on orbital space shuttle flights and unmanned reconnaissance. The dream of galactic exploration, while not exactly dead, was definitely sitting on the back of a dusty shelf. And then, in the year 2016, everything changed. A team of scientists announced that they had actually detected for the first time the gravitational waves Albert Einstein proposed a century earlier in his general theory of relativity. Scientific postulating, even great scientific postulating by one of humanity's greatest minds, was still just so many formulas on paper, but the discovery of gravitational waves changed all that. Theory became reality, and that reality fostered renewed hope in humanity's ability to understand and manipulate space-time, and more importantly, it rekindled the great dream of space exploration and expansion. Of course, even after the discovery of gravitational waves, there was still much work to be done. Humanity had not yet even traveled beyond Earth's planetary system, so that was the first goal, one that was accomplished when humans first set foot on Mars in the year 2050. Huh, that's pretty interesting. A little bit of prophecy going on there. Wow, cool sculptures. Moby Dick. The Origin of Dracula. Chapter 1. Jonathan Harker's journal, kept in shorthand. 3 May Bistritz. Left Munich at 8:35 p.m. on 1st of May. Arriving at Vienna early next morning, should have arrived at 6:46, but train was an hour late. Budapest seemed a wonderful place from the glimpse which I got of it from the train and the little I could walk through the streets. I feared to go very far from the station, as we had arrived late and would start as near the correct time as possible. The impression I had was that we were leaving the west and entering the east. The most western of splendid bridges over the Danube, which is here of noble width and depth, took us among the traditions of Turkish rule. So begins Bram Stoker's 1897 masterpiece Dracula, a book that would define horror for generations to come. The Origin of Species, Chapter 1, Variation Under Domestication. Included is a rather incomprehensible list of varieties of species. When we look to the individuals of the same variety or subvariety of our older cultivated plants and animals, one of the first points which strikes us is that they generally differ much more from each other than do the individuals of any one species or variety in a state of nature. When we reflect on the vast diversity of the plants and animals which have been cultivated and which have varied during all ages under the most different climates and treatment, I think we are driven to conclude that this greater variability is simply due to our domestic productions having been raised under conditions of life not so uniform as, and somewhat different from, those to which the parent species have been exposed under nature. Darwin's theory on the origin of species on Earth continues through 14 full chapters, ranging from biology to geography and everything in between. Cool sculptures. Wow, really nice painting. Nice frame, too. Some nice stuff here. An exotic wood decoration. Alright, and that will just about do it, I would think. Alright. Let's go talk to, the homies. Oh, we didn't come up here. New Atlantis.
I hope you are satisfied with the quarters available to you.
I am. Noelle?
It's been quieter around here ever since Vladimir went to live on the Eye full time. That was intense, wasn't it? The artifacts, I mean. Sorry, this must all be a little overwhelming for you right now. I guess a lot overwhelming, now that I think about it. I'm Noelle. It's really nice to meet you. And thank you for bringing the artifact to us.
The vision I saw, what do you think that was?
Oh, right, that. If we're approaching this rationally, I suppose we'd call them visual and auditory hallucinations.
Right.
What you perceived as lights and music could be overloaded neural input, your brain's attempt to make sense of something. An energy surge, some other phenomenon.
Barrett saw something too?
He did. At the time, well, it's Barrett. We weren't sure if he was kidding around. Clearly, he wasn't.
So there's a reasonable explanation.
There might be a reasonable explanation. I wasn't there. I didn't see what you saw. I'm just not in a position to say for sure. That's okay. Now that this has happened to both you and Barrett, we can know to maybe expect it in the future. Be a little more prepared. We're all in this together now, right?
Right. How long have you been working on all this?
Well, Constellation's been around forever, more than 50 years now. But we only became aware of the artifacts recently. Barrett discovered the first one about 2 years ago, right under our noses. And he was the one who got this all in motion. It's a shame he isn't here to see this.
You seem to know a lot about these artifacts.
Oh, gosh. No, I mean, that's flattering, but really, we're making this up as we go. Until you arrived, we only had the two, and the vaguest sense that there was something more at work. There's still so much we don't know, and that means a lot of work ahead of us.
I was wondering about other types of exploration work besides the artifacts.
Of course. There's plenty of planets out there that no one has ever set foot on, and everything we learn about them is valuable. We have a board where we post anything specific we're looking for. A type of alien flora or fauna, or a planet with a specific quality.
Cool.
Like if it's primed to have life but doesn't yet.
Activities. Check out the Constellation mission board. Let me know how I can help you learn more.
Well, right now nothing's off the table. Metallurgical analysis, chemical composition. I'm looking at everything. One thing I'm really trying to improve is my overall database of xenobiology. I don't know if it will help in this case, but the more we know about, well, everything, the better off we are, right? Speaking of, if you're going to be out there looking for more artifacts, you're bound to come across some interesting specimens.
Indeed.
Anything organic, I'd be happy to take it off your hands.
Okay. How would organic resources help with learning about the artifacts?
I can't be certain that they will, but more data points are always a good thing. I don't want to rule out anything that could provide a breakthrough. And if it sweetens the deal, I can pay. Pretty well, too.
Nice.
Walter's pockets may not be bottomless, but they are pretty deep.
I've got some organic resources for you.
Okay, let's take a look.
The ones I just picked up. A fiber. This is just what's on my body, I guess. Value 16. Antimicrobial flowers. I'll sell one and hang on to one. Sarah said something about a place for me to stay.
Planning on sticking around then? Good. I think we can find a spot for you. And along the way, I can give you the very abbreviated tour. Right. So you've seen the library, obviously. Walter is quite proud of the collection, but Mateo has made more than a few contributions. Gardens are out the doors there, if you need a moment of quiet contemplation. Emphasis on the quiet part, at least usually. Let's head upstairs.
Let's go.
Sebastian Banks, Constellation's founder, had this place built decades ago. It was a big to-do at the time, but most people in the city have forgotten we're here.
I kind of took the tour already, but... You walk fast, girl. That's Barrett, I think.
So this is the bar. Usually no tender, so help yourself, within reason, of course.
Okay.
Now let's see about that room. You're in luck. We were almost at max occupancy already, but there's still one room up for grabs. It's been nice having the place so full.
Right. Whoa.
Okay, this'll be you. Common room on one side, so that'll be quiet, and Mateo on the other side, so maybe a little less quiet. I'm sure Sarah has something planned for each of us, so I'd better get back to it. Don't want to keep her waiting too long. Enjoy!
Okay. Right. Oh, I didn't see this mirror display. Pretty cool. White Olpa vase. Okay, do we want to keep anything in storage? Not right now. Alright, that is an abbreviated tour. That was Noel.
I am at your service, Captain.
Let's go talk to... Let's look at that picture of Barrett. I think that's Barrett. Not entirely sure.
I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this. Constellation, the artifacts. That doesn't sound crazy, does it?
You're good?
I've occasionally had my doubts about Constellation as an investment. But now, well, it's clearly money well spent.
Mateo, Contri?
Are you doing okay? I'm not sure anyone really asked yet. Don't want you to think we're focused on the artifacts and nothing else. You matter too. You've done something really significant bringing that artifact here. I'm Mateo, theological scholar by trade, but now, well, an explorer like you. It's really good to have you with us.
What brought you to Constellation?
Well, there was some overlap in interests. I'd spent years searching for religious relics from human history. I had made a really incredible discovery, only to lose it to a greedy corporation. So I tried to steal it back. In the process, I met Walter. Turned out he owned the corporation. After a long talk, we realized we had a lot in common, and I was invited to join Constellation.
What do you make of the vision I saw?
I'm not gonna lie, I really wish I could have seen this for myself. It's hard to judge otherwise. Both you and Barrett saw something. I don't think that's a coincidence. Did it feel like it was trying to tell you something? I don't want to necessarily use the words divine revelation, but, you know, if the label fits.
You think this was a religious experience?
Not necessarily, no, but it does kind of have the hallmarks of one, doesn't it? I'm certainly not going to rule it out just yet.
If it meant something, I didn't understand it.
Okay, that's all right. Maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe it'll make sense later. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. We just need more data, which means more artifacts.
These artifacts all came out of caves?
Second one was on Kazal, buried the same as the one you found. But the first one, right under our noses for years, sitting in storage, masquerading as an oversized paperweight. Can you imagine potentially the greatest discovery in human history collecting dust? Take care of yourself.
You too, Miss Hale. Walter?
Sarah's the best possible person to be running Constellation at a time like this. Focused, no nonsense, and dedicated.
I can't sit down next to him, but I can talk to him.
Well, I suppose calling you a rock breaker may have been a bit out of line.
I've been called worse.
Still doesn't excuse it. My frustrations lie more with Barrett, not the first time his shenanigans have jeopardized one of our ventures. Not fair of me to take it out on you, especially since it would seem he made the right call this time. So, let's start over, shall we? Walter Stroud, CEO of Stroud Eklund, member of Constellation, and oft-times grumpy old man. Welcome aboard.
Glad to be here.
By the way, in addition to a place to stay, the Lodge has a wealth of modification and research equipment. Spacesuit customization, pharmaceutical manufacturing, testing alien substances, the whole thing. You can even fashion industrial pieces for large-scale projects, if you don't mind extracting a few raw resources from a nearby planet, that is. I'm a fan of self-reliance, so I encourage you to make use of the tools we have to build what you need.
I didn't see any of that stuff. Complete a research project. This isn't where I'd expect to find a CEO.
Funny thing about companies, you build one sturdy enough, it doesn't need you there all the time to prop it up. Stroud Eklund functions quite well on a day-to-day basis, leaving me time to devote to more esoteric pursuits. For years, I was captivated by the writings of Constellation's founder, Sebastian Banks. I finally decided to do something more than admire from a distance, and so now I call the Lodge home, as much as anywhere else.
What's your role in Constellation?
Me? Why, I'm the wallet. Someone has to fund all this, and all my success in business doesn't mean much if I can't put it to good use. I don't pretend to have the daring of Ms. Morgan, or the smarts of young Mateo, but I can make sure that they have the resources they need. And, as you've now seen, those resources aren't being wasted. We're onto something big here.
Do you think the vision I had means anything?
Up until very recently, I'd likely have dismissed it as, I don't know, hallucinations. But now, I'm not sure what to think. I don't suppose you have a history of this sort of thing, do you?
Well, sure, I see lights and hear music all the time. It's a non-stop party in my head. I haven't hit my head. You mean, have I seen something like this before?
This? Or anything else? You'll have to forgive me. I don't know you as well as the others here. If you weren't so new to the group, I might already know the answer.
I haven't hit my head recently, if that's what you're asking.
Not exactly, no. But I suppose it doesn't matter. You saw something. Barrett saw something. That's an unlikely coincidence. I'm no scientist. I leave that to the likes of Barrett and young Noel there. But I think we can all agree there's something unusual going on here.
Indeed.
Frankly, this is the most exciting thing that's happened in years.
Huh? What kind of company is Stroud Eklund?
We're most well known for ship manufacture. No expense spared. If you want the best and can afford it, you choose Stroud Eklund. Unfortunately, our success means you'll sometimes see Stroud Eklund ship modules on less than reputable vessels. They covet them. The bastards. I've tried to convince the United Colonies we can help in that regard, but they're married to Deimos Star Yards, and those old salts are stuck in the glory days.
Thank you, Walter.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You never expected to end up involved in something like this.
That's for sure. Wooden duck. Art Deco sun sculpture.
Curious feeling, knowing that you've seen something that no one else has. That you know something no one else does.
Indeed. Okay, so I don't know where all those resources are he said about building things and putting together ship modifications and stuff. Quick save and I guess see how long we've been playing. 38 minutes, so we're just gonna about to wrap it up. Sarah?
What is it? So, are you ready to get to work? Or was there something else?
What is Constellation? What do you do?
We're explorers. Humanity has always hunted for knowledge in the unknown. We just take that a little more seriously than others. We were founded decades ago by a man named Sebastian Banks. He wanted a small group of people from all corners of the settled systems dedicated to the biggest question of all. What's out there? These artifacts could be everything we've been looking for. Another great secret the universe is asking us to unravel.
How well known is Constellation?
I don't know what you've heard, but I can imagine. First of all, I think you can dismiss any stories about us no longer existing. I don't believe in smearing our name everywhere we can. Exploring the universe, charting the unknown, that's what counts. Besides, having a little mystery gives us room to maneuver. A fixed reputation could fence us in a lot of ways.
What do you know about the artifacts?
Not much, but you've seen them for yourself. It doesn't take a lot to realize we're dealing with something extraordinary. Just what that is, we'll have to figure out. It's what we do.
I still need some time to get settled.
I understand. You've been through a lot. Just let me know when.
Okay, sir. Alright, so next time, guys, we are going to check out more of this game and take her up on her offer of doing some work together.
At your service, Captain.
What can you do, Vasco?
Captain, now that you are a member of Constellation, I am at your service. No additional protocols necessary. Also, given the likelihood that you will be out in unsettled space, it might be beneficial to go over exploration outpost development, in case you ever need to build a base for field research.
Okay, start an outpost. We'll do that next time, guys. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this episode of exploration around the base here, the lodge. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you guys. Hope you stay tuned. There's much more to see. The facilities must be downstairs. Forgot about checking down there. So we'll do that next time. And yeah, I hope you come on back and we'll have some more fun. Super cool stuff. Glad to be playing it with you guys. So until next time, be well, take care, much love, peace, and joy, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.